Hello, everybody there. Thanks for joining us for our presentation on test automation. I'm Jacob Davis, so I'll do just a quick bit of housekeeping and a quick introduction and turn it over to the main speaker tonight. But as you can see, we are joining you virtually. So there are a couple things that we can actually do a little bit differently in this presentation during this time together here. So I think those would help. So I'll talk a little bit about those and do an introduction and talk about the agenda, and then introduce Bartosz Śpiech. Firstly, myself and my colleague Matt will be answering questions in the question and answer section. So if you're streaming this, you'll be able to click on question and answers and put that in there. If you're here in the room with us, you actually can have the option to stream on your phone. Just make sure to turn the volume down, but join us while you're in the room there streaming, so you can also type in questions into the question and answer. Secondly, if you don't want to stream, you can always reach out to us at executiveautomats.com and speak to us, or visit our profile on your Summit app. Our company name is X Plus, so you can find us there and also ask questions. I mentioned X Plus is our company. We're a Microsoft implementation partner and also an Inner Circle member. So we actually created a tool for test automation way back for the 2009 version of AX for an implementation project that we had, and just kept developing it over time. And it turned into a very useful tool, especially once it came along to the Dynamics 365 environment with the one version updates all the time, needing to do a lot more testing. And so that's what we'll talk about tonight, is that topic. So with that said, I'll go through the agenda a bit. We'll talk a little bit about what you need to know about test automation. Bart will touch on this. Also, testing team and the testing tool must-haves. This is also an important part. But the meat of the show will be the showcase of the tool and how some of our customers have used it, as well as some of the positive byproducts that come from recording and doing your test automation in the fashion that we'll show. Follow that with a customer case study with the situation, solution, and outcome of that, and then have a little bit of time for a Q&A session as well at the end. I think Luis will be taking some questions at the end and set that up so that we can engage that way. With that said, I'm really, really happy to introduce Bartosz Śpiech with us tonight. He's one of the best people in the world to talk to about test automation. Also, really, really good guy. I'm sorry he couldn't be there personally to shake your hand, but I'm glad he's here tonight. And Bart, with that said, I'll turn it over to you, buddy, and good luck.
All right, thank you so much, Jake, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. It's a significant pleasure for us to be here today. Unfortunately, virtually, we had over 5 years visiting the all AX2G summits from US to European ones, and yeah, this is quite unique. Happy that we can do it that way, and hopefully next year we'll be able to shake your hand, as Jake said, and we'll be able to show you the functionalities and everything what we see here on site. I'm going to walk you through a quick presentation and give you some strategy, some ideas we are gathering throughout the years of the experience. Personally, I'm involved in this project over 6 years, and over 10 years I'm doing ERP stuff, starting in Dynamics 2009. And throughout the journey, I've been testing a lot, and I was able to identify some potential issues, some elements. We also had a lot of test managers involved in the projects with over 30 years of experience. A lot of them, they are already retired, but they gave us a lot of information, and we were able to build the functionality based on some common ideas, based on something called community-driven roadmap. And this is something we love. This is something we hope we'll be able to keep up for next years. And I'm going to show you some nice stuff today. Test automation need to knows. There are some basic elements which are important when you start your testing project. We very often recommend to use something called RACI matrix, so responsibility. So to identify who will be responsible for each area of testing, who will be maintaining the environments, who will be doing the data migration, who will be doing the security regarding the access roles and the workflows. These elements are very important. And I think when you've got your team set, you know who is doing what, it is good to identify the scope. So to know exactly what you test, what kind of test plans we're going to have. So the areas, like you can build your areas based on the modules. You can build your areas based on some work streams, like procure to pay, sales to cash, and so on and so on. When you've got your strategy, when you've got your aggregation level, it will be easier for you to run later on the regression, the smoke tests, which are done frequently. There are a few other topics here, like a gold template, and gold template is one of the elements with which we help to identify with customers. So golden template, these are the test cases, processes which are shared globally across the organization. So if you are running a few entities in Dynamics, let's say entity is dedicated for localization, you could identify a lot of processes which are common, and you can distinguish them from those which are local, which means that you can build your test plan in that way. And the local processes that are dedicated for business users or testers, which are located in that specific area, but the global plan is maintained and updated from one place. This keeps you with something called high reusability. We want to make your test plan reusable. We want to make your test cases reusable. So you pay less for maintenance of the entire software. So gold template, there is something also called a golden process. And the golden process is the longest possible path of testing that you can provide, the longest business process you execute in a company. So we can say, if you're going to gather your business and you're going to ask them what they do, they will be able to create the longest path, which can have over 1,000 steps, over tens of the processes combined into each other. But when you run the specific test case day by day, you run your core business. So you know that your core of the organization works well. And this is something we recommend to identify the golden process. And the golden process can be executed on a frequently basis. If it is green, if this passed the test, this practically means that the core of the business is working well. Test management tool, in this case, we very often recommend the Azure DevOps. The executive automats is actually heavily integrated with Azure DevOps. You can create test cases, you can create test plans, test suites, you can create dashboards where you see the results. You are able to add your test cases into the pipeline. You are able to store your test cases as a configuration as well. So there are a lot of concepts which, unfortunately, I will be not able to show you today because we've got just 50 minutes. But feel free to ask questions on chat so I can later on navigate through them and help you out, sort of understand the concept. Let's continue further. So if you're going to like the tool, if you're going to just want to feel it, this is something we recommend, is just to start a free trial. There will be a website visible here, also visible in our profile, so we can jump in there to sign up for free trial, to just go inside to the executive automats, to test it, to see what it does, what it actually gives you. So this will be, of course, followed by 1 hour training. So this is like you are receiving your personal account. You are receiving the training to understand all mechanism, all functionalities which are embedded. And within 2 weeks, you are able to heavily navigate through the entire testing tool. After those 2 weeks, if you can share the experience with us, it will be awesome, because this actually gives us a feedback which is converted to the roadmap, as mentioned, community-driven roadmap. So let's jump into the executive automats. I'm going to start the screen sharing, and I will just ask you for confirmation that everything is visible, which will be important and actually essential for this part of the presentation. All right. Can somebody just confirm that we are visible? Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So a few concepts of executive automates. On the screen right now, you see the main application. To get inside, you have to have your account. So you can't go just like that. The application is actually hosted as a separate server. So it might be installed. It might be installed on premises on our cloud. You are able to just have this as a software as a service. So we do everything for you. You are just creating the test cases, or even if you don't want to do the test cases, we can do test cases for you and test the application for you based on the documentations. These are also some possibilities that exist. The application is connecting to Dynamics by specific algorithm we've got, by specific proxy method and Puppeteer methods. And thanks to that, we are able to run test automation without changing your core of the system. You're not installing anything on the Dynamics side. Everything what you do here is mimicking the user actions in order to create or reproduce the business process which was recorded by the business. And we want to basically create a bridge between business people and IT people, so they can share the knowledge, they can share the how to do the business process specifically, what are the requirements, what are the criteria to make the success criteria of the test case, and what are the negative testing criteria as well. So they are defining what to test and recording the test cases, so business can simply build on the top of that some test plans, some strategy regarding the overall continuous development, continuous integration cycle of Dynamics, including, of course, one version, which is one of the key aspects of having test automation embedded in your application. So on the screen, we've got a few major modules. We've got project, script, and scheduler. Script is nothing else as a continuous business process. So everything that you do on the system side, sales, purchases, fixed asset creation, so on, this can be identified as a script. Of course, script can have embedded scripts. So you can have one script which integrates with few other ones. You can actually build significantly long scenarios. There are no limitations of number of steps which are included here. Basically, this outlines what to do to perform sales creation up to a specific moment. As you may see here, every process has a few parameters. There is a status, which gives you the idea if it is ready, if it is still in progress, so somebody is developing this test case. It is in draft, so somebody just created that and actually not started working on that like entirely. So we can say that you can communicate with your team, so everybody knows that this script is ready. So when you are testing those scripts which were finalized and they've got everything what it's needed to call this test case a test case. So some acceptance criteria or actually criteria of your test case to be completed, to be complex. Aside of the name and the status, we've got the project name and environment. Project name, this is basically the aggregation I was mentioning in the beginning. You are able to record here multiple test cases. So to have them perfectly organized, you have to build some aggregation. And it is totally up to you. You can build the aggregation accordingly to your standards. If you don't have any specific idea how to do that, we can help you out to build the aggregation. The environment, this is simply the executive automates can be treated as one centralized platform for testing. So if you've got multiple environments like SIT, UAT, pre-prod, release, and so on, you are able to define them here in the settings area and then redirect your test case to a specific environment. So if you've got in your system multiple environments, you are able to connect to them by just switching the environment. So we can say that the script itself is actually a template of a process which can be executed on every endpoint. And to connect to the system, we also use something called a virtual user. And the virtual user is nothing else as Azure Active Directory account. So by connecting, you are not providing any passwords, you are not providing anything, you are just selecting the endpoint and connecting. And of course, the virtual user which you use needs to have some access level to perform the business process. And maybe regarding access level, let's talk about later on. So projects. I was mentioning the aggregation level in here based on the processes, on the modules, so AP, AR, project, and PSA, so on. We've got in here hire to retire, procure to pay. We can create more, of course. And then you are able to tell the system, all right, let's run everything from a specific area. So we are able to address some specific sections. Okay. Every project has also the possibility to set the system and the virtual user, so you can dedicate for a specific project, a specific environment, like SIT environments. If SIT is dedicated for, if only SIT has this specific connectivity or definition of or VPN, you are able to define it here. So all test cases are executed on that specific environment to have the desired results. Do not execute your test plan against environment which doesn't have the configuration in correct shape. We've got also something called scheduler, and the scheduler is in a simple way a planner of your test cases. So you're able to execute a smoke test over Friday night, and you can make a recurrence, so it will be repeated every week once up to the end of the year where we've got the major release. So you were able to build this plan of testing, and system will do for you the execution, and you're going to be notified by email on the email address with the results of the complete test plan execution. And the scheduler actually has a little bit more functionalities, but we're going to go there later on when we're going to touch base also the script creation. And actually, to make this flow as usual, I'm going to jump into scripts and I'm going to create one example of the process with you, one example of the test case. So we're going to create, let's say, let's create purchase. Let's create a purchase order. I'm going to define the accounts payable abbreviation and then 00201 purchase order. All right. The code name, of course, this is up to you, but we always recommend to use a code name to talk about in the team about specific process. So this is one of the best practices we're going to outline. This just helps you to simplify the communication. This helps you to build later on some smoke tests. The environment and the virtual user comes from the settings. Of course, I can override that if I want to use another environment by purpose. And there are some parameters which we're going to right now leave behind. There are just parameters regarding screenshots creation within the execution, and so on and so on. When you create, the script is empty. I can click start and record. On the right-hand side, system will load the panel. This is the advanced panel we just released in the latest version. And the panel is a combination of player and recorder. Right now, I'm on the recording session. As you see on the left-hand side, I'm connecting to Dynamics. I'm using a specific account. I haven't touched anything, so system just authenticated me into Dynamics. And I can start the process. I can click record on upper right corner to navigate through purchase creation. So I'll be able to naturally do this business as usual. And system will identify along the way every step I'm going to do, along with the values, along with the elements which are important, crucial for the process. Of course, if you're going to create something, I see that Dynamics has time, so I'm going to use this time to give you a little bit more idea what is on the right-hand side. Everything what you see on the right-hand side is editable. And from the beginning, we had a few concepts. The reusability concept. We want to make sure that your test cases, which are recorded once, are reusable, which means that you can record once, run 10, 100 times without a need to change the data, or to make it so flexible that even if data would change a bit, system will be able to react on that and simply take something else or use shortcuts to take the first value from the list. There are possibilities to create a script which will take always the first value from the combo boxes, from the drop-down list, which will let you run one process against all entities, which will create those elements, every entity which exists in your company. And there are possibilities to attach your Excel file. So you can build one process which will have Excel file with the data, and which will make a loop which will change the entity. So I can have one test case which is going to be a template of the process, which is going to run against all entities that are defined in the Excel. There are plenty of concepts I'm going to introduce you later on as well. Right now, I'm going to simply walk through the purchase creation, and we're going to do two things. We're going to create the process, we're going to create the purchase, and then we're going to do the confirmation, we're going to do the verification of the results, because we don't want to do only the happy paths, we are also caring about the results. So we would like to place here a verification if the status after confirmation will be equal to the expectations. As I was mentioning, on the right-hand side, I can place edit. I can edit right now the item ID I picked for the process. I can make this more flexible. I can make here an expression. An expression is actually an open doors for developers. So this means that you are able to write some OData requests. You are able to connect to something or invoke something like API request, which will do some calculation on the end, or just drag data from some endpoint, which will be used here on the process. So we don't want to limit you. We would like to help you out with that. And I'm going to show you an example of the OData later on to identify the concept. There is something called Picker, and this is the UI-friendly coding, which will make the game changer for you regarding the testing sequences. This is a standard number sequences concept identified in Dynamics, but of course we are creating our own number sequences, so they are present here, but they are simply the definition of them is in the settings area. So you can build plenty of number sequences, which are going to be used for names, which are going to be used for item IDs, product receipts, invoice IDs, to make your test cases reusable. So you are able to identify your process, apply number sequences, and then simply run 10 times your test case, 100 times, and it always applies the unique number sequence, unique values, the next one, of course. And there's another concept here called global, and this again simplifies constant and variable. Global constant means that you can define some constant values you define throughout your testing area. So like warehouse WMS mobile device pin, or some ID from CPOS or something like that can be set as a constant value, or some other constants for production, let's say, can be set here. And they are applied to multiple fields and multiple scripts. And when you modify this, let's say pin, and you modify this in the settings area, it will be distributed to all test cases. So one change distributed everywhere to make sure that everything is up to date, just to limit the number of maintenance that you need to do for your testing. And global variable, as in coding, global variable means that practically there might be multiple events of update of that particular variable from different scripts. So you can create a variable which will, let's say we are right now running a test case which is creating a customer, and it just updated the variable value. And if I'm going to use the variable in this, maybe vendor, if I'm going to use the vendor creation variable here, it will be using the latest created vendor in the system. Of course, the global variable concept is pretty clear. There is a possibility to have a variable in here in the process, like let's say a local variable. This means that it will be simply created in one script and then transferred in the same script to another place, which means that I can create a vendor, transfer a vendor ID, and then follow the story. You might remember on the beginning I was talking about the golden process. The golden process simply gives you the possibility to build a super long process, the longest possible verification of your business. And that concept, it could be impossible without the variables. So you have to define plenty of variables to connect those dots to build an end-to-end. Okay, so let's continue. Of course, comments. This is practically dedicated more for trainings, we can say. So you can place a comment on a specific fields, on a specific actions to give the context, to give the broad context why you are picking site number 4 or warehouse number 41, just to give the user the explanation so they can make their decisions based on some facts. And of course, this process can be converted later on to documentation. So I can create an end-to-end documentation which can be downloaded and then browsed. The business users can go here into the executive automates to download the latest documentation, or some industries are using this as a proof of delivered verification of a particular function, especially pharmacy, especially some military organizations we are collaborating with. We've got actually another line of the product which is dedicated to highly regulated area with GXP testing and criticalities. This is something different, but that's the possibility. Okay, so let's continue the process. We are ending the definition of the line. I'm going to define here deliver date, and I'm going to actually go to the header to check the status. And in the meantime, I'm going to jump into the purchase to confirm the purchase. On the right-hand side, as you see, we've got double step, which was doubled. I basically clicked twice on the click item number. I can definitely correct that quickly. I can simply click on this element and simply deactivate it. I can delete that or make it optional. And that is the optionality of the actions is something which makes a lot of value, because the dialog boxes where they are happening from time to time. You can prepare that they can exist, but most of the test cases, if you don't have the optionality highlighted, system requires that all actions that we perform, they are executed, that they're going to be delivered. If you're going to miss some actions, if the action will be impossible for production, then system will tell you, oops, error message, the process doesn't work the same way as it was recorded. If the step will be marked as optional, set optional with O here, this means that this might happen, but if it will not happen, then simply we can go forward. This is not a critical step in the process. So you can make the optionality here. Of course, I can deactivate that if I've done this by accident. In here, we've got a approval status, which might be not needed. I'm going to use the purchase order status. Open order. I'm going to hit here, and there's a bullseye here. This is called inspection, which gives him the possibility to save every value which is visible on the screen. So purchase order ID, statuses, info logs. So you can go through the process, and I've got an expectation that on that moment, I've got a information from the system, the operation completed, so I can build on that info log a verification. If it happens, then success. If not, then false, which is error message. I'm gonna catch right now the purchase order status. I'm gonna call the variable a PO status. I can make, of course, global if I need. In this case, I don't need. I'm gonna create it with condition. So it's gonna verify on the next first execution of this process, if after all of those steps the status is equal to open order, and status in here, enter message, and status is wrong if not. So if and else, create. Okay, so these are my elements I can save right now, and if I want, if everything what I see here is good, or simply I want to see the consistency, I can pause, I can go to player, and I can play back. So system is simply playing back the process, depending on your selection. I was selecting the header, so you are able to execute your process from a specific moments, from a specific area. So you don't need to run this entirely. So if you would like, if you have like a humongous long script with few hundreds of steps, you would like to just verify one small portion of it, you are able to select and just execute. This means that system goes from the specific area. If you reset, system goes from the beginning, starting the process step by step. So again, system goes with the flow. We can wait for the statuses on the right-hand side. Success mark, warning messages, and errors are possible. And this execution will be stored in the history of the execution. If somebody from the team is right now working on the test cases, they can see I'm executing the script. So test manager can overview what is going on, what is right now executed, so they can wait for specific feedback. And right now we can wait for the exact execution. If I want, I can simply pause it if I'm just interested in the sort of portion of the results. But if everything is consistent, we can simply switch back to the recorder to record more steps. So you've got a full flexibility. You can record portion, verify. Record another part, verify. Everything is good. You publish. Test manager knows that this is existing, and they can apply this for a global strategy of testing. Success marks, all is good. And actually, let me close it down for just a moment. This was transferred to the major API, to our application. So we've got steps, we've got the milliseconds of how much time was needed for execution of this particular process. And if I'm going to go to the history, I'm going to see here the execution duration. If I'm going to double click inside, I can see here the verification. This is true, so everything is good. I see confirmation, so operation completed. Every feedback from the system, including some call stack messages, everything what you practically can see in Dynamics can be tracked down here. And in the history, then, if you've got some glitches, you can always export that. You can always export that to the work item. I hope I've got my integration in place. I think, yeah. So work item was created. I can click open work item, and you're going to see here we're going to have a test case which is going to be created based on the details of our test case. And I can apply my colleague. Let's take Matt. Oh, Matt is here. Yeah. So Matt, if you may take a look on the test case, I'll appreciate on the issue.
Sure thing.
All right. So as you see, we can create the test cases. We can convert that into the test case to the test plan. And if this is done, actually, because it is, I can change the status to publish that. And publishing gives me the possibility to move this integration. You can have multiple projects applied to the specific profile that I'm connecting to. Actually, the profile, this application has role-based security, so you can be an admin here. You can be here just a tester with limited rights. You can be a test manager with more rights into the application. So these are all stories which are going to be even more embedded. You're actually able to build user group security in here, so specific users can see a specific project, like a specific area they are responsible for, and so on and so forth. All right, so the test case is applied. We are able to see that we've got a work item, script issue number 290. I can see the change log, so if somebody is changing from published to draft and so on, they can comment, so we can track down the backlog. And one of the nice elements I was mentioning before is basically running this in background, putting the results in DevOps, and making documentation for the process. Process which we've executed can be converted, and then the documentation tab here can give you the browsing. So every processes that we went through, they're actually visible here. They are converted, so I can download the documentation from my process. And AR0012 sales orders was just downloaded. And we'll be able to walk you through the documentation. As you see on the beginning of the process, we've got here some information of the process itself, and then we've got step-by-step instruction how to do this. And every selection is outlined with this red box, and it goes forward. This can, of course, have applied the corporate template, so we can have a little bit more info included. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to jump back here. This module can be actually a standalone module. So if you log in, you'll be able to see only this. So you can invite your business users so they can download documentation only. They will be not able to do a lot. They can play back the process so they can see from the beginning to the end how to do that. But this is something which is an optional thing, of course. Okay. So I was mentioning before the integration possibility. So the OData, which I was mentioning, you can define here advanced code. This test case has the request to our update 44 environment. If I'm going to play this back on the step type value from advanced code to customer account field, it's going to simply type here data from Dynamics by OData connection. To be honest, we are sometimes in very weird situation where customers are starting to use this product so heavily and so different ways that we are realizing that they are doing RPA instead of testing. One of the training sessions we had a student who practically was not active on the session because doing something in the executive automates, and we realized that after the session, after full day, he was doing an import script, which was a correction/import script, which was correcting data on the pre-prod environment. And he was just cheering after the session that he was able to correct a massive amount of sales orders on the pre-prod site to see if some other mechanism works. So that is something which can be used. This product gives you just the automation invite. You can do a lot in the area of verification and in building some robots for performing automatic actions or on-demand actions, of course. I was mentioning that you were able to verify elements, and this is something system is doing on the INC, which is incrementing some values. And there is a loop, as you see. System is jumping on the test case by jumping from the end to the beginning to make more iterations, to create simply more records. So you are able to loop. You can have a loop in a loop. So all possible logical extensions can be done here. Okay, let's close this down. Let's jump back here to the script. And what else? The functionality of defining applications like Update 44 and Dynamics, and practically being an independent platform, not having the system, the automation system in Dynamics, but as a separate platform, gives us an opportunity to build automation platform for practically all websites. The all value which we've got comes from the patterns and logic and algorithms which are working in Dynamics Finance and Operations, or FSCM. But of course, if you would like, you can use this functionality, this executive automates against the CPOS. We've got a few clients doing a lot of CPOS test cases, including some retail reloading, deployment of the new retail packages, and just running the full test cycle on the CPOS to see the transactions are going back and forth from CPOS to the backend to see if everything is consistent. And if you would like, you can also test. There's Amazon defined here, so you can see how does it work. The Amazon actually has some anti-robotic scripts, but more likely they are working here quite good. So I can simply record a test case here. As you see here, actually, is there is a robotic script. But if if somebody wants, we can after the session define their website, like a corporate website or the vendor platform or customer platform, to test it out as well. So this gives you an option to extend as well. So scheduler, we were talking about that a bit, and this gives you the possibility to plan. So I can do a webinar testing starting today at 7:40. It might recur by every 1 week, and it can have few occurrences. I'm going to leave this with never, and I can click add. So here I can define the flow. In the flow, I can define test cases. So I can build a quick query that I would like to run all test cases from AR and AP. I can build a query on statuses, so I can test only those which are, as mentioned, finalized, finished. Then I can move them up. I can make a specific order of the elements, so they can simply be executed sequentially. I can run them in parallel, and this opens doors for performance testing, because you are able to run specific processes on tens, hundreds, or even 1,000 machines, 1,000 sessions in the same moment. So I'm going to walk you through later on that, but this just opens doors for the performances. I'm going to save my list of the test cases. I can activate and wait for the time for the execution. This is the simple version. I can do also Gantt. Gantt is more about planning. So I can run more test cases, which going to be executed in a group. So I can build here 4 elements. I can edit that. And then I can move that this specific test case will end, and then the second one will start. So we are making dependency. I can start the other ones far, far away in the time. I can build the groups here, so they're going to have more logic on the top, like executing entire group of testing on a specific moment. These steps are in order to get you a possibility to plan your test cases, to plan the strategy of testing, embed it here, and just repeat that, just to optimize the time and, of course, save money on that. I'm going to jump back for a second into the presentation. So if I may. If I may, files, summit, play. Okay. Automation byproducts. I was mentioning throughout the presentation regarding the documentation. So you are able to convert your processes, the test cases, into the documentation, which can be used for testing, which can be used for documentation for developers, which can be used as a proof, and so on and so on. There is a possibility to convert your test cases into the security role. Let me give you a taste of that. I'm going to jump into the environment, and I'm going to jump in through executive automates. I could jump in as well through normal account, but I'm going to jump into in a specific reason. Let me go here.
Please make sure to reshare your screen, Bart.
You're totally right, Matt. Application, desktop share. Apologize for that. Okay, so I'm jumping into the application, and there is an extension called Security Setup Wizard, which gives you the possibility to download, to extract business processes from a process. You can extract entry points from the test recordings. You can extract processes, the entry points from executive automates recording, or we can extract it from the users or from existing processes. You are able to download entry points from a particular business process, and then you can tell, all right, there is PO test, which is using 6 entry points, and those 6 entry points are needed for my day-to-day business job. So what I can do, I can simply save this as a duty. I can convert and create a duty for my specific process, then create a role, and then role apply to the user. So this creates a specific concept called business-oriented roles, business-oriented duties, which is practically the one key element to do a perfect SOD in your system. A lot of information, a lot of concepts. If you're going to be interested in the security setup, let us know. We can walk you through this. It's about 40-minute presentation to understand the concept, so we can show you step by step how to do that, how to create your roles in an optimal way. So you're going to be optimized from the license level. They're going to be optimized from the access level. So you'll see exactly what you want to see and nothing more. Okay, let me jump back quickly to the presentation again. So security setup and performance testing. And simply, this transfer us to the customer case study. And I was mentioning that lately we see that multiple customers are doing crazy stuff of the executive automats. We can't even track how many different ends we met, how many dead ends as well. And I would like to show you one of the dead ends. One of the colleagues of ours executed the executive automats sub product on the car UI. So we were able to execute test cases on actual car when he was driving. And another customer actually gave us an idea to the performance testing in the past, which we heavily done in AX 2009, then in AX 2012, because as I was mentioning, we are compatible with practically all Dynamics versions. And on finance and operations, we were able to help one of our customers verifying the concept of what they've got from the hardware setup on their pre-go live environment. This was a tier 5 environment with 6 AOSs on batch servers and 6 AOSs for business logic. And take a look, we were able to kill practically 50% of the AOSs with 600 transactions in parallel. So 600 mimicking users, 600 users which were mimicked on the system side. We're performing sales operations. We were able to stress so much the environment that we actually proved that the load balancing was doing very poor operations there. And actually they went up, but still, take a look on the CPU utilization. Based on the blueprints which was delivered, this was actually a 20% higher spec than the blueprint which was discussed with Microsoft. And after this exercise, where we proved that the prod is actually not enough, the specs from the prod, they are not enough. They actually tweaked the environment to make sure that this will meet the load which is going to be generated on the production system on the day one. So you are able to define your business processes, record them, identify the quantity. So how many test cases should be simulated in a specific moment. Execute that, take a look on the LCS, set up Zabbix, set up Azure Monitor. So you were able to use some simple methods of tracking, and then you were able to see how the system behaves. Of course, there are some principles you have to remember, but overall, this gives you a unique way to verify if your application works well with the load you are planning to execute. So coming back, please let us know if you're interested. The free trial is one of the options to dive into the automation world, to see a lot, and to be actually navigated, guided by our team. The software is one part, but the team and everybody, we've got over 40 people right now doing the product behind the scenes. Everybody wants to help you out. So I think even if you're going to have problems with the process of how to record that, or if you're going to have some questions how to build it, we are able to help you out to make the story of the automation easy and enjoyable. Thank you so much. And yeah, I would love to hear some questions if you've got. And hopefully we'll meet again on the summit in next year, as always, as last 5 years.
Awesome. Fantastic, Bart. I do see one question here in the Q&A section. I think maybe some audience members in the room might ask a question. But first, we can take a look at this question. Is the window state maximized during recording required when running a test to get a successful result?
No. Yeah, you don't need to. Basically, the execution is recording the specific paths. When you execute your test case in the background, it is automatically stretched to the full HD, so it doesn't have any specific issues with any resolution. Of course, if you're going to do 800 by 600, which we had once, this might be more problematic for dynamics.
Hi, my name's Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, so one of the people that report to me used this at her old job, and she's kind of been highlighting it to me. So I noticed it's for dynamics. Do you guys integrate it all with any ISVs, or do you have the plan to do that?
Yeah, so everything what you can do in Dynamics can be recorded, executed. So practically anything what can do in Dynamics can be recorded and played back automatically. There are no limits on that. If you've got some ISVs, it is good to mention them before on the POC or on the trial. So we'll make sure that we'll be able to build with you some test cases to make the assurance that they work with you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Enjoy the summit.
Anyone else would like to ask a question? No? Okay. Okay, I think that was all the questions in the room.
Perfect. Usually we were doing a raffle right now. Yeah, good old times.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, you can look at our website, executiveautomats.com, and get the free trial as well. You can see it there, as well as a lot of other information, videos on the tool and everything. But yeah, we're happy to speak to you and see if we can help you out. And Bart, great job again, man. Always.
Thank you so much. Team effort. Thank you so much, and have a great summit, and hopefully see you soon in European one or North America next year. We look forward for that. Have a great day. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.